making that thing that he said. You won't hear it, obviously, because it'll be through my OBS, so you're not going to hear it. But I'm going to start the show playing this Tedros guy. And then once we've heard the key section from him, then I'll start talking. I think I did. Oh, no. Let's get started. Okay, it says we're live. So let's play this.
And
Characterized as a pandemic. Characterized as a pandemic. Characterized as a pandemic. That was on March 11 of 2020. And those of you who've checked your clocks or your calendars today will have noticed that today is March 10 of 2024, which means that tomorrow is the 4-year anniversary of the official beginning of this madness. The last 4 years of hijinks, tomfoolery, chicanery, and all kinds of madness began on March 11, 2020. So I'm John the Bond coming to you from beautiful Plovdiv, Bulgaria. And later on, we've got a couple of very special guests joining us for what should be a roundtable discussion, a review, a reflection, a look back at how this all came to be. But for now, I've got with me one interlocutor coming to us from Albuquerque, New Mexico, the president of the Infinite Plane Society, none other than Tim Osman. Great to have you on the show.
Awesome, and thanks for the flashback. I'm sure it's going to give a lot of truthers PTSD, but I think this is a great point to kind of assess where we are, where we've been. I think 3/11 was a major turning point, so I'm looking forward to today's talk.
Well, we've got so much to talk about today, Tim, and in the last 4 years, you and I have probably done, I would say, 7 or 8 of these shows, where there's been live streams or conversations or calls over at johnthebond.com. So we've spoken a few times in the last 4 years, and we have reflected on and reviewed 3/11. 2 years ago, we had a reflection show, actually. Here we are 2 years later, and I want to put an idea to you, Tim. The coronavirus, the pandemic, it's pretty much over. The world has gone back to normal, and that's been the case for at least a year. The world has moved on, but Tim, I haven't moved on. I'm like the... Did you ever hear that story of the World War II Japanese soldiers who were on the little islands, and they were defending the islands, and the word never got through to them that the war was over? Or the word did get through, but they thought it was fake story. They thought it was fake news. So they kept on defending their little islands for years or decades, even though the war was over, everybody had moved on. Not these Japanese soldiers. They were still there defending the islands. Now, I think that's probably a fake story. But to use this story as an analogy, yes, or as a metaphor, or as some kind of rhetorical device to express myself, that's how I feel, Tim. The world might have moved on, but I'm like that Japanese soldier. No, the coronavirus is still real for me. So I'm going to throw the microphone over to you now. Have you moved on, Tim, from this 3/11 chicanery?
I would say that I'm like, over it. However, I don't think we should move on as far as the public's attention span is so short. We can't let them forget how quickly they acquiesced to the black box, how they gave up their critical thinking and went with the mob, and sacrificed all of their ideals for the illusion of safety. So we can't let the people forget how brainwashed they were, how they were easily programmable. And I think it's a fascinating study anyway on group psychology, mob mentality, and the power of media itself to create a situation in the minds of the people, and then it becomes real in a very, I guess, hyperstitional kind of way. It becomes pretty much they fake it till they make it. So no, I'm not traumatized by it. I'm not triggered by it. I'm not worried about it. But I think we cannot ignore this massive, great social experiment.
Well, you've said a lot of things there, and I want to unpack some of what you just said. But first, I've got up on my screen here for those who are watching this. Obviously, I will turn this into a MP3 to share with people from tomorrow onwards. But for the video version of this, I've got on the screen right now Bonversations number 36 with Tim Osman. That was January 22, so about 6 weeks ago, I would say. And the feedback from that one, Tim, has been terrific. More than 700 downloads and streams on that episode, which is the second highest of all Bonversations. So it seems like you have quite an audience, quite a following, Tim. Tell us, what's the latest over at the Infinite Plane Society?
Okay, the latest thing is this. I realize as we're talking about this 311 thing, that many people get caught up in what is essentially a psychological warfare operation, an alternate reality game. And so my main focus now is I want to create a separate entity, what I'm calling parallel media, that specifically platforms skeptics and people who aren't falling for stuff on a routine basis. And I think we've kind of seen this sifting process, and I think there's enough people that we could actually constitute a separate media body. And so my focus now is aggregating auto hoaxers of the world unite. And that's my focus right now. And I'm defining this as the parallel media as opposed to the alt, which is always directly opposed to the mainstream. And I'm like, we're a separate thing. We're not opposing it. We're observing it neutrally. So that's my main focus now, parallel media. And all these people who are responsive to this latest episode are the exact types who would constitute this new emerging presence.
Well, speaking of the people watching this episode, I want to read out some live stream comments, and I need you guys in the live stream to let me know in the comment section, is my audio and Tim's audio coming through at about the same level? If it's just a small difference, if I'm a little bit louder than him, or if he's a little bit louder than me, it's no big deal. But we need to be about the same level. So you guys are my unofficial producers for the call. Let me know if the audio is coming through clearly and about the same level. So here are some of the live stream comments we've got already. We've got Dirty Benny says hello. Auditing Estonia says happy 311. Yes, tomorrow is the 311 anniversary. Goodness gracious me. 4 years, folks. Can you believe that? Ramovie says good evening. Scott Rankin says good morning from Reno, Nevada. People all over the world here, Tim, listening to us right now. Mizelle has the popcorn ready. There's a whole heap of penguins in the crowd. We've got Mad X says this is going to be a great show. Mizelle says hard to believe it's been 4 years. That's what gets me, Tim. It's been 4 years, man. That's a long time. Like, suppose you live to be 70, right? 4 years is like, out of 50 years of adulthood, that's almost 10% of your adult life if you live to 70. That's a long time, Tim.
It's incredible. And in 4 years, I'm looking at this as, has there been any progress made? And I'm looking at it in somewhat almost disappointment in a way, but it just seems like, yeah, 4 years is too long to be obsessed about an issue that may or may not have any real objective reality. And so this is why I think it's like something we need to talk about and break away from those who are clinging to stale propaganda, because time is moving too fast to cling to any one of these just temporary operations. And this one, for some reason, has really captured a huge swath of Trutherville, and they are still like those Japanese soldiers. They're still out there fighting the war.
Well, I want to read out some more of these live stream comments before we move on with the show. So, Madx and Auditing Estonia and Rorschach 5 all say that the audio levels are good, which I appreciate. Napoleon Wilson says, 2 likes, what the F? Like and share. So he's trying to encourage people to share the show. I don't think we did the best job, Tim. I don't mean to speak for you. I don't think we did the best job of promoting the show, which is probably a good thing because we were meant to start quite some time ago. So we're starting a bit later than the time that we would have promoted had we promoted this in advance. But there is some good news, Tim. We know that Ab the Fakeologist is meant to be hosting the official version of this show starting later on tonight. And there might even be another very special guest as well. So if all goes well, Tim, this could be quite the roundtable discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to because I think we represent the cutting edge of whatever you call this, the act realm. Is that what you call it? The alternative conspiracy theory,
Alternative, conspiracy, truth realm. Yep.
truth realm. Okay. Yeah, well, I think this is kind of the cutting edge thought in that arena, and to get these, to get fakeologists, and hopefully the other one, I think it'll be really interesting, especially if we have a lot of people in the comments asking questions.
Well, I'll be reading out those live stream comments and questions as they come through, so I encourage the people listening live to do that. Let's go first to you there, though, Tim. So I asked you about how's Infinite Plane Society go, and you mentioned this parallel media. I listened to you on the most recent Fakeologist episode from a few days ago. You were chatting, and a bunch of topics came up, and you did mention on that call that you'd been away, you took a bit of a break, maybe to allow yourself to recover from some kind of illness. You had about 10 days away from live streaming, I understand.
Yeah, it was weird. I went to my office and I had this disease X, or if I'm neuralinked in some way, but it just seemed like my computer crashed. But it didn't matter at that point because my skull was overheating, hot skull, fever, and it dragged on and on for a number of days. But it, all told, easily kept me out for a couple of weeks. But I used that time to kind of formulate a vision for the future. So I made use of my fever dreams.
Well, I'm just looking at your website right now. You've got a whole ton of websites. You've always had so many different websites, it's hard to keep track. But at ips.lol, you're selling the Autohoaxology one for $15. How the hell do you make money on that? How do
Uh,
you make money on a $15 hardcover? Produce than hardcover books. How do you get a hardcover produced? And
the profit margin on these hardcovers, it's about $2. I charge $10 more if I sign it, but these are the last ones. I moved into paperback, which will be far more profitable. But I wanted the first edition to be all hardback for the people who are there as we constructed it. But now it's on Amazon in paperback, and it's much cheaper. The cost per unit is like 227. So I'll be making a bit of a revenue stream off Auto Hoaxology 101, which is really just a collection of the best concepts, ideas, and axioms that define media skepticism. But I figured we have to put it together in a format that establishes this is what we agree on. It doesn't have any beliefs, it doesn't assert anything, it's just this is our framework. That way, the media cannot misrepresent us like they do every other subculture of media critics. They're always misrepresenting people, and you can't straw man pure skepticism.
okay, so my question was not just a way to throw to you to talk about the book, which I want you to talk about it. No, I'm being quite serious. What service do you use where they print your book and deliver for $15
Oh, yeah, sorry
hardcover?
about that. To answer
That's
the question,
terrific. That's not through Amazon, I'm guessing.
Lulu.com, which for the length of this book and
.com.
the size, yeah, Lulu.com. They have all kinds of options for different budgets, but spiral bound, hardback,
So
paperback.
they'll print you if you write the book, they will print it and deliver it to your customers for $13 is what you're telling me.
Well, 13, well, they charge the shipping on the customer side, but the cost per unit amounts to about 12 or $13.
I see.
But
I
media mail, since
see.
it's a textbook,
That makes sense.
but it's a textbook, so it qualifies as media mail, so I get a discount shipping rate. So as long as I'm charging 15, I'm not losing money on this one, but then I generally mark it up if I sign it.
Fair enough. No, the reason I'm asking is because if I could sell books hardcover for 15 US delivered, I'd be doing that. That seemed like way too inexpensive. I mean, just to print the book, let alone to post it, I would have thought would cost more than that. But if you explain, oh, it's 15 US plus delivery, that makes much more sense. And what's in the book, Auto Hoaxology 101? Tell us, like, what's the main, what are the sections?
Okay, well, it opens up with the explanation of skepticism as defined by Piro and this concept of epoche, which means suspension of judgment. And the opening premise is establishing that the public is trained to not be skeptical about media itself. Just assume media reportage is objective and react to it. But the premise of the book is that it's rational, logical, and reasonable to suspend judgment, and it's okay to be a non-believer. And through the book, I explain fake until proven real, who owns the burden of proof when it comes to any media story, and I introduce concepts like fakeability. For example, the general public doesn't know about all the deep fake technology, movie magic, and even a lot of logical fallacies just fly past their radars. So I'm using this book to really outline a format or a methodology for applying skepticism towards media, and not just news media, because everyone's skeptical of the other side. But I'm talking about media conceived as monolithic, where you don't separate the entertainment from the news, from the political drama, from the celebrities, from the history. So that's kind of the premise of the book. And at the very end, it says the end result of suspending judgment is you believe a lot less and you have peace of mind, which they called ataraxia.
So what I'm doing now is I'm looking at infiniteplanesociety.substack, and there's a ton of artwork there. I heard you chatting with Ab the Fakeologist on your most recent appearance there about AI creating not just artwork, but even writing articles and this kind of thing. It sounds to me like you've gotten right into the AI revolution, Tim.
Oh, yes. In fact, it's incredible when, for example, let's say you were to write 5 minutes of a journal about what you just experienced from your perspective, first person. It's like, I'm walking through town, I stopped here for tea, I met this person, this is what we talked about. You could take that body of text, feed it into one of these, um, like ChatGPT, for example, one of these generative text platforms, and say, rewrite this in the third person. And you could even suggest in the style of Stephen King or something like that. And it will take your first person and it will give you a grammatically correct, aesthetically appealing third person perspective on something, as though, written by a novelist. So my point of it is, it's very much a way to augment what we do anyway. It's a step up from just grammar check. It's a step up from Photoshop. It's but it's not artificially intelligent. It's not sentient. AI's got all this hype around it, but really it's just info aggregating and labor saving.
Seems to me, and this is probably the best part of your conversation with Ab the Fakeologist, it seems to me as though he's a bit more like me, a bit of a Luddite when it comes to AI, and maybe skeptical of using it. Whereas you seem like, I think you said something like, AI won't replace people. People who use AI will replace people. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why in my art you'll see a lot of the penguins are cyborgs now. The cyborg is just kind of a metaphor for anything we do to augment our meat suit. And this would include the internet. This would include maxing out on all the technologies we have. And I understand this. I notice this Luddite attitude, and it's because it's attached to transhumanism and technocracy and the elite worship of tech. So it kind of, in some way, has this kind of a fear to people with more traditional views or who see the change it's bringing in this shock. But in my view, it's not hypocritical to go for the most cutting edge stuff if you're already using high speed internet. We have to stay competitive. So again, yeah, the augmented person is going to beat the non-augmented person, but the AI itself
Well, what
is
I'm
just
going
a
to
tool.
do now for the listeners is I'm going to play a 2-minute video that I created with InVideo. And you and I spoke about this on Conversations, and then you spoke about this with Ab the Fakeologist on your most recent chat. This is just a 2-minute video that I'm going to play for the listeners. This video was made with an AI tool that costs. It used to be $20 a month. They must have got me with one of those bullcrap introduction plans, because my last bill was more than that. But still, they're providing a service, so fair enough. And I could cancel if I wanted to. And I haven't actually used the service for months, but I plan to start making videos with it eventually. This is just the one video I made with it a few months ago to test the service out. And so the point I'm trying to make is it's a relatively inexpensive service, and all you have to do is give the website, like you log into the website to use it, right? So then you give I don't want to call it a program because it's like a website, the platform. You give the platform any prompt and it will make a video for you. The video that you're about to watch and or listen to, I gave it a 1-sentence prompt, which was something like, please make a video about the wind turbine hoax. Something like that. Something very simple. and it did the rest. It did the scripting, it did the voiceover, it found the stock footage, edited it together, it did the subtitles on the screen, it even added the music. It took it a few minutes to make this. And for people who might be wondering, well, JLB, why are you showing us this? I want you to see the power of this so-called AI. Because I used to say, oh, this is all just a fad, blah, blah, blah. I was wrong. This is something very powerful. And I think when you take a step back and consider the implications. So this is called the wind turbine deception, powering the power. Tim, you won't be able to hear this the next 2 minutes. I know you've seen the video before. I'm playing this through OBS, so the listeners will hear it. You won't be able to hear it for the next 2 minutes, so feel free to take a quick break if you like. For the next 2 minutes, here is the wind turbine deception, powering the power. And again, folks, this took AI a few minutes to make based on a one-sentence prompt. And this is technology that's available to all of us right now. And who knows how long it's been available to other people for longer than that. Here is the wind turbine deception. And that's what it made. So for those of you listening, you wouldn't have seen, like obviously if you're listening, you can't see what's on the screen. It didn't just do the voiceover. It also provided the text. It also provided the stock footage of wind turbines spinning. And it wasn't just one video. It was constantly cutting from one to another, the kind of thing you need to do to keep people's attention in this day and age. What I'm trying to convey, and I'll get Tim Osmond's opinion on this is a very well-made video on a topic where the AI service gathered all the information by itself and made what I thought were some very good points. This is phenomenal stuff, Tim.
It's in a way, it's a leveling of the playing field, and it's shockingly good. It really can be, but it doesn't take very much, and it makes it very easy for a first timer to create something. And something that has come up recently, as you may have heard, I've used the term guardrails, which I kind of took this term and I applied it towards media and how they have narratives that prevent people from reaching certain conclusions, like guardrails that keep you from leaving the mainstream, that keep you on the road. And interestingly enough, since last fall, that term has been appropriated for the use in media when describing these AI uh, generators. Like for example, for example, Midjourney has guardrails. Bing has guardrails. So you can't create stuff that would be considered hateful or dangerously misinformative, for example. So the term guardrails is already being used, so the general public can't create stuff that goes outside of acceptable bounds of discourse.
Well, let me ask you what you think is acceptable. And this is, I think, is a very important topic to discuss. I'm not sure if we can get through all of the nuances of it in this pre-call warm-up that we're doing for the big round table later on today. But what do you think about the idea, Tim, that some people would be concerned if they were reading an article and it wasn't made clear if it was written by the ostensible author or by AI or by some combination? Some people might have some trepidations about, is it as real or sincere? Is it the same experience reading an article? I'll give you an example. Suppose there's some dude who I like the cut of this guy's jib. I like his ideas, his theories. He gets me to question stuff. So I like to read his posts or his newsletter. And then one day I'm reading one of his articles and I realize, hey, this isn't the way that he speaks. Has he used AI to write this? Because he didn't explain at the top of the article, this is an AI. Maybe I might be like, I kind of feel I want to read what's from this guy's own mind directly, not with an AI intermediary. I might have some concerns about that. Do you, Tim, have any concerns about people using AI to churn out more content that isn't necessarily coming from their own mind, their own heart?
Yeah, I understand what you mean, and I've actually encountered this. There are some YouTube channels I follow. One of them is on psychology, and it has these really informative videos, but I realize this is AI generated content, and even the voice is some kind of natural reader. So it's not even a real person. And I listen to real psychologists who've worked with real patients describing stuff, and it just obviously feels realer. So inauthenticity is a thing with this, but it's also not very marketable. I kind of think authentic wins overall, so it's just going to create a lot of generic content, and a lot of stuff is just generic, and generic's not competitive. So even though that is the case, we'll see a lot of bad content created. I think the good content will outweigh it, but it brings more people into publishing for good or for bad, and this has always been an elitist thing. Controlling who can read, controlling the means of production. Well, now the means of production have been democratized, so it's like at this point, I don't have any real issues or worries about the fact that they can completely fake stuff, because we also have a lot of copyright and trademark laws in place to protect content creators. So when it comes to plagiarism and all that, I think we have to just exercise our what you call right of publicity more aggressively. For example, I can't take a celebrity's face and put it on a billboard. There'd be repercussions. And just because I'm not a celebrity doesn't mean I don't have the same protections against somebody using my likeness. And interestingly enough, I have this legal case going on that has to do with somebody claiming to be me and claiming my voice. So we do have laws that would actually protect against all of this. But one more point, a lot of people can't tell the difference between real and fake. So for the people who haven't acquired some level of critical thinking, they're going to be lost. I think this is a disaster. It's like a tsunami.
So I'm just reading through the live stream comments, and there's a couple that are relevant to this. So Ms. L says it's super easy to use those services to make videos now. Text to video, thumbs up. Jennifer Reeves says, so that's how people make those videos, like why your cat is a gift from God. Yeah, so Jennifer, I don't know the specific video you're talking about, but yes, if you've noticed in the last few months that your YouTube feed has been flooded with these videos about all kinds of trivial topics, and if they're anything like the video that I just played, the wind turbine hoax video, if they're anything like that, then yes, most likely that video was made by somebody using AI. And all they would have done was give the AI a prompt, and then the service would have given them a video a few minutes later. Sometimes the video it gives you is not what you're looking for, so you just tell it to do it again. It'll start again and do a new one on the same prompt. They will have waited till they got one that they liked and then uploaded it. And so for an example, a few weeks ago, in my feed on YouTube, there was a video to someone talking about Stoicism. Stoicism, this philosophical idea about how to interact with the world in a certain way. Anyway, I watched the video and I was like, and it took me a couple minutes for this to click on in my mind. I was like, hold on, this is freaking AI. I'm pretty sure this is AI. So I went through this channel's videos. Yeah, they were all, in my opinion, because he didn't admit that they were AI. They were all made with AI. It didn't link to any website. It wasn't selling any books. Why this guy was making these videos, I'm not sure. But there was an entire channel dedicated to Stoicism or these different philosophical ideas that were all made using AI. And the videos that I watched, they were actually well made. They were made better than most regular people could make a video on these topics. But the question is, why? Why is YouTube? If this guy had have been linking to a book or to a website, okay, there's the explanation why. This guy is trying to sell something, so he's using AI to make what is essentially promotional videos for it. But in this case, that wasn't the case. There was no apparent purpose to what this guy was doing. And that's just one example. And maybe there are people making videos about cats being gifts from gods. But yeah, there's a very good chance your YouTube feed is now flooded with videos made with AI. So let me throw to Tim over there from the Infinite Plane Society. Have you noticed on your YouTube or other social media feeds that it has been flooded with these AI videos? In some cases, apparently for no real purpose.
Oh yes, and I think this is the age of Aquarius, and this is the flood of information, and they're flooding so much, but they're flooding it to media consumers who don't have a coherent worldview, and it's what Huxley talked about, the sea of irrelevance, and it is a flood. It's an info glut, and it's actually we're also seeing, I think, a dilution of quality, and that's what we were talking about, how anybody can do it. And interestingly enough, I'm a beta tester for Amazon Audible, meaning any book I publish on Amazon, I can push a button and it will produce an audiobook and release it on Audible and put it up for sale. And it uses their own AI readers. Now, what's interesting about this is that it used to be you would sign a contract with a narrator who would read your book and agree to do a royalty split, and then Amazon reviews it, and once it's approved, then it goes for sale. So there's like a 2-month turnaround from writing a book, giving it to a reader, and having it produced and put in the marketplace. Well, now it's one click and it takes 5 minutes. So this has just made it possible for Amazon Audible to do away with paying human readers. They're actually phased out. And it's like, well, it's just a race against time until you got these AI readers that are aesthetically superior to human readers. I mean, we'll see, but they've already made that happen in the beta.
So let me see if I've understood you properly. So you release a book, and it used to be that real humans, it'd take them some time, but real humans would be reading the book and then giving corrections or feedback or something. But now you upload a book, and the same websites or services are using AI to basically be like your feedback givers, your reviewers, your spell checkers or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you no longer need an audiobook reader that breathes. You just push a button, you choose a voice, and your product is created within minutes as opposed to months. And it cuts them out of the royalty stream as well. So audiobook readers are
Oh, you're talking about the people who record the audio version of your books.
yes, because Audible would work with these third-party narrators and basically farm them out to writers, but now they're no longer necessary, judging by my beta test of this new service. They've made it possible to phase out real
So
life.
how true to human likeness are these readers? Can you send me a link? Like, is there a way that we can play a few minutes for the listeners to hear this as well? Is there some way that we can do this on the fly and me and the listeners can hear an AI reader reading your book?
I believe I could probably find a link here to an example, and it sounds at this point it's better than we'll say Stephen Hawking's, for example. It's some of them are like what you would get on a customer service line, where you know it's a computer reading to you, but I expect it's going to get better soon. Right now, I would say, yeah, it's a little obvious. I think to me it is anyway, but it's listenable is the main thing. So it's not super impressive yet, in my opinion. But one commenter on my end said, it's unnerving when you hear AI readers breathing. Like they're doing this. They're adding in little idiosyncrasies where they're trying to make them more human-like. But no, it's not. To me, it's not there yet, quality-wise. But the point of it is, it's trending that way.
So, for people who are just joining us late, I'm chatting with Tim Osman, president of the Infinite Plane Society, and this is like the warm-up show because later on, myself, Tim, Ab the fakeologist, and another very special guest who most of you will have heard of should all be together for a 4-person round table to celebrate 4 years since Dr. Tedros announced that this coronavirus can be characterized as a pandemic. 4 years tomorrow, folks. 3/11 is tomorrow. We're having a big roundtable discussion to talk about 3/11 and what has happened over the last 4 years and what we see happening over the next few years. Much to discuss. This is like the warm-up show. And we're talking at the moment about AI, which I openly admit, folks, once again, I was wrong. 12 months ago, I was like, this AI thing, it's a fad. It's being overhyped. Yeah, I'm sure it can do some good things, but all the attention it's getting is overblown. Yeah, I was wrong. Once I started playing around with this technology, I realized, holy shit, this is way more powerful than I gave it credit for. And I think it is going to change. I think it's already changed. In fact, I put to you, dear listeners all around the world, here at johnlebon.com, I put to you that you're already watching videos or reading articles or newsletters or listening to podcasts that have been made with AI, and you just don't know it yet. I put to you that's already happening, folks. That's how good this technology has gotten. Yes, indeed. So what I'm going to do is read out some live stream comments. We've got with us Media Bear is in the house. Now, Tim Osman, have you ever chatted with Media Bear?
I haven't chatted with Media Bear, but I've seen a lot of his work, his parodies, and his anti-masked crusade. Very funny content though, and I think they were at one of these.
Terrific stuff.
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
love to listen to a chat with Tim Osman and Media Bear. If you got them on as a special guest on your show, I would happily pay a $20 Australian entrance fee to listen to you chatting with the Media Bear team. Or Dr. So Dr. Clown is the main guy, but it's actually a team. Media Bear is a team. There is the main dude, and then there is his wife, and then their friend, who is like the main music guy. The three of them are the ones who put together these songs and the film clips, what have you. It's a team. So Media Bear, if you could get them on your show, or at least just Dr. Clown, that'd be worth the price of admission. So I'd love to see that happen. He's in the house and he says, AI creative terrifies me. He puts creative in inverted commas. So AI creative terrifies me. I'm sure that information is valuable to a computer somewhere. Well, the way I see it, I have released so many podcasts over the years. If somebody wanted to, they could easily use one of these AI services, not just to mirror my voice, but even to mirror the way that I speak. You could get AI saying stuff like, yeah, boy, shit. You could do it. Or, that's ridiculous, man. Or any of the other John LeBonisms. The AI technology will be strong enough, clever enough, if you said to it, please make a 5-minute video in the voice and style of John LeBon talking about whatever topic, it could do it. And I believe it could do it convincingly enough that 50, 60, 80% of people wouldn't even know the difference. Mind you, 50, 60, 80% of people are dumb as rocks, so it's not hard to fool them. But the point is, it could be done with the technology as it exists today. In my personal opinion, Tim Osman, tell me if you agree or disagree. They could, because you've done a lot of podcasts over these as well. I'm putting to you, Tim, tell me if you agree with this or disagree, that's fine. Somebody could take your podcasts and get an AI tool to make content, not just with your voice, but with the way that you speak, with Tim Osmanisms included in what is said. Do you believe that's possible or not yet?
Oh yeah, I've actually worked with some of these where the more you feed into it, the better it can replicate your style. Like I have an IPS chatbot that I uploaded all of my AutoHoax books into. So it has that lexicon and it draws from that as a source. It's like giving it a personality. And yeah, you can record enough sound bites that it will be able to replicate your voice. And the dumb as rocks demographics out there, they don't fact check anything. I refer to them as having maids, no mental immune system. They just believe everything. So they're the ones who are most susceptible to this deep fakery, and they'll fall for stuff. And I don't feel envious whatsoever of the position of people who haven't become skeptics because they're not ready for what's coming, in my opinion. It's going to be chaos.
Well, the good news is that Ab the Fakeologist has got his Restream studio up and running. So we're going to go to his place and start the official roundtable in just a moment. And the special guest will be there. So I don't want to announce who it'll be, but many of you listening to this right now have heard of this guy before. So there'll be myself, there'll be Tim Osmond from the Infinite Plane Society, Ab the Fakeologist, who's been doing this for more than 10 years now, and a very special guest will all be there for a roundtable discussion about 311, which officially began 4 years ago. Can you believe that? Before we wrap up this stream, though, Tim, I want to read to you a few more of the live stream comments. There's more than 50 people watching live right now just for the warm-up show, and I hope all of you guys will go across to the official show, which will be hosted on FakeoTube, I believe. In fact, what I might do, Tim, how's this for an idea? How about I stream the first 5 or 10 minutes of the official show here on YouTube, and then I will end the stream once we get to the controversial stuff, because FakeoTube is like, how do I put this? FakeoTube is Abs. He can say whatever he wants there. We can say whatever we want there. There's no risk of being kiboshed. So that's why I want to do the official stream on his platform. So we can stream the first few minutes of that chat here on YouTube, and then Ab can explain how to watch or listen to the rest of the show on his platform. And also on yours, Tim. Maybe you should put in the live stream chat right now, if you're going to mirror this or whatever, so listeners know where to go to find the official show that begins in just a few minutes. What do you think about that?
Yep, and I put out a link, so I'll be heading over there to Faco's platform, and hopefully that guest is going to be there, so that's great. So everyone who's listening on my end will be receiving another live stream notification, and I'm on all the regular channels. So, all right, I will see you there. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Well, I'll see you over there in just a moment. What I'll do is I'll just read a few more of these live stream comments. D-Train says, will there be an